Welcome to episode 2 of the Home Studio for Beginners series here at Record, Mix, Repeat. I'm Rusty Smith. So, you've gone out and bought all the things you need for your studio. Good for you. You got yourself a computer, you got yourself an audio interface, you got yourself a digital audio workstation, and now you're ready to make some of the greatest music the human race has ever heard. Well, before you can do that, you're going to have to hook all these new toys up to each other, and that's what this episode is about. It's time to hook it all up. Get everything connected, and hear some music come out of those really awesome speakers you bought. Well, at least the guy who sold them to you said they were awesome. I'm guessing you'll find out soon enough whether you like them or not. So first things first, the one thing most of these cool toys you just bought have in common is you're going to have to plug them into a power source. A lot of things you got to plug in there. You got your computer, a computer monitor, a USB hub, those really nice speakers the sales guy talked you into, an external hard drive to record all your work to, and an audio interface. And soon enough, one of your new Project Studio friends you'll ultimately run across will convince you must absolutely have a great sounding tube mic preamp. Ooh, that's going to be so nice. Then you'll get another mic preamp you read about on the internet probably. And who knows what else you'll find on the internet you just absolutely have to have. Oh, you and your weakness for Tiffany lamps. Bottom line, you're going to need to get yourself a few power strips and put them in the right places in your room so the equipment can have the power it needs and it's not a big mess. You want to get some surge protection power strips so in case there's a thunderstorm you don't lose all your data and your hard drive doesn't fry. So like I said in episode 1, the computer is the core of everything in your room and almost everything.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled program with an important announcement. We now go to Rusty Smith at Record, Mix, Repeat headquarters. Come in, Rusty.
Hey, I just realized that in episode 1 I was talking about ergonomics, and now here we are hooking everything together to get everything connected. Well, everything should be in the right place before you start hooking things up. It's a great idea to think about where everything's going to be in your room, okay? Get a piece of paper, draw out to scale if you can, where all the things that you're going to have in your studio are going to be, and map it out to where it makes sense for you. Make sure that if you have a desktop computer, you can get to the ports on that thing easily without having to crawl up underneath your desk and your audio interface. Make sure that you can get to it easily because, hey, you're going to have to plug instruments into it, microphones into it. You're going to have to mess with the levels on it. You're going to have to turn the speakers up and down on that audio interface, and you're going to have to mute those speakers and plug your headphones in. And where that audio interface is very important because you're going to be messing with it a whole lot, okay? And your desk, I mean, it's a good idea, your desk, if it's like on wheels, awesome idea because you can pull it out and that way you can walk around the back of the desk and you can access your computer, your disk drives, your rack gear if you have any. And that way, after you get through making those changes, you can push it back up closer to the wall and you don't have to crawl up underneath your desk to make these changes. So, desk on wheels, good idea. So think about where everything is in your room. It's very important.
We now return to the regularly scheduled program.
Your room gets hooked up to your computer. You need to get your audio interface hooked up first. Your audio interface should be plugged directly into your computer because it requires a lot of bandwidth. It will either be a USB Type A connector at the computer or a USB Type C connector at the computer. Next, you're going to want to get your speakers hooked up. More than likely, you have bought a set of near-field self-powered monitors. Your audio interface will probably have quarter-inch tip ring sleeve or TRS output connectors. You'll want to connect quarter-inch male tip ring sleeve connectors to the speaker outputs of the interface. And the speakers will have, more than likely, a quarter-inch tip ring sleeve input or an XLR connection at the input. Then you need to figure out what else in the room you have that needs to be plugged into that computer. Figure out how many of those connectors your computer already has, and then make a decision whether you need a USB hub to increase the number of connections you need. If you do need a hub, there are 2 kinds of USB hubs out there. Just like the rest of the world, they're either simple or they're complex. Simple hubs don't have a lot of bandwidth and should not be plugged into complicated devices. They should be connected to things such as QWERTY keyboards, mice, maybe license dongles, MIDI keyboards, or MIDI controllers. Complex USB hubs support higher bandwidth devices, things like additional audio interfaces, external hard drives, additional Ethernet, memory cards, and the like. So now we're getting into cables. You'll find that you're going to need a lot of different kinds of cables, so you're going to need to know what different kinds are most common if you don't already know. Two kinds of cables now, audio and data. The most often used audio cables are microphone cables, instrument cables, and 1/4-inch line level cables. Microphone cables consist of XLR connectors. They look like this. This is a female, and this is a male. These cables can carry both microphone signals as well as line level signals. Instrument cables are used to hook instrument outputs to instrument inputs. Those inputs are on amplifiers, effects pedals, and instrument inputs on audio interfaces. They are 1/4-inch tip sleeve or TS connectors, and they look like this. 1/4-inch line level cables are tip ring sleeve or TRS, and they typically connect line level outputs to line level inputs. They look like this. You used a line level connector when you hooked up your speakers to your audio interface. The output of your audio interface was probably TRS line level out, and that went into a TRS line level input on your speakers. Your speakers may have had an XLR line level input, making that cable 1/4-inch male TRS on one end and an XLR male on the other. The second kind of cable is data cables. They come in 2 or 3 forms as well. The most common data connections are USB connectors, either USB-A connectors or USB-C connectors, and they look like this. Other data cables include SPDIF and ADAT. Those connectors will be covered in the complex audio interface episode. Now that your studio is all connected and ready to go, if you haven't already done it, get your DAW software installed. After that, the next step is getting your audio interface working with your DAW. And guess what? That's what the next episode's about. All those questions you got about inputs, outputs, buffers, sample rates, bit rates, all of them get answered. So, if you haven't already done it, please subscribe and watch all the episodes of the Home Studio course for beginners here on the Record Mix Repeat channel. I'm Rusty Smith, and thanks for watching.